Thanks for logging on to BVN 8. Once again, it's your best friend, J. Cole, and we are here at the Lila Cockrell Theater where it's finna go down with Jonathan Butler and Nagi. That's right, Jonathan Butler and Nagi. We're getting them before the show, behind stage. Stay logged on for a great interview. Let's go. Thanks for logging on to BVN 8. Once again, it's your best friend, J. Cole, and as always, we bring you the best in entertainment on every level. Speaking of the best, I'm rocking with the best. Mr. Najee, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Now you looking good as usual.
Oh, you're very kind. You're very kind. Yeah.
Now for those, let's give them a little progress report on Najee. You're originally from
New York City, born and raised. Yeah. So, and you know, traveled all over the world since the age of 18. You know?
Wow. Now I know that so early on in your career, what or how did you know that music or this form of music was the direction you wanted to go in?
Well, I didn't actually. When I as a kid growing up in New York, music was my personal escape, if you will. You know, that's what I did. And then when I got in high school, I actually went to a school in New York called August Martin High School, which was an aviation school. Okay. Russell Simmons and I were classmates. Wow. And, but it was there in high school, I think at the age of 15, I took my first tenor saxophone solo in front of an audience, and all the girls knew my name, so I had a quick career change.
Quickly, Najee. So early on, you had the lady screaming the name at 15, Najee.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I became a celebrity overnight, but more importantly, we had such a strong music department there in my school, and ultimately, that following year, I went and studied at Jazzmobile under the tutelage of Jimmy Heath and Frank Foster and Ernie Wilkins, and studied flute at Manhattan School of Music and saxophone with different teachers. And
okay, so how did you? This one, I always want to ask you this: how did you figure it was the flute? Did the flute call to you? Was it in a dream? I mean.
Well, actually, they were simultaneous. I'm a saxophonist. You know, people mostly know my records for saxophone, but flute has always been one of my instruments as well. So, so I played them both simultaneously. Wow. But yeah.
Now, okay. So sax and flute. Are there any other instruments that you play as well?
Keyboards. You know, as a matter of fact, I made a living playing keyboards. Back in the '80s when there wasn't much work for saxophone players. I got off the road with Shaka Khan and then couldn't find any work, and then. So I started playing keyboards and being a sax player as a side man, you know. So.
Okay. Now, like you said, coming out of New York, and at that time, I guess that time in that era, then there was a lot of segregation, I guess, going on during that era, somewhat, a little bit.
Well, not so much in the '80s. New York was a unique culture in that sense. I mean, no more than anywhere else, but no, we didn't suffer like in the South in the '60s. You know, in the '80s. It was just a cultural change. You know, Michael Jackson changed the whole culture of music at that time. As we remember in '83, I think it was '82, '83. And it was around that time that the record industry had a refusion of money to be able to sign other artists. And with the success of Michael Jackson and Prince, people would go into record stores and buy that, but then they started buying other things as well, because back then you could browse a record crates, if you will. And my first album came out in 1986 and was hugely successful. I mean, we had a gold album within the first 3 months of its release. So I always say Michael Jackson, we owe a great gratitude to him, and also Prince as well. You know?
Right. Now, I saw there on the charts and looking back of the history, you had multiple records and multiple songs on the Billboard's top, like in contemporary and in jazz.
Yes, I did. You know, as a matter of fact, my first album, they created a different chart at that time called the Jazz Contemporary Charts, which I sat at #1 for 13 weeks with Najee's Theme album, which, you know, ultimately became a Grammy-nominated record and platinum selling and all. Yeah.
Now, I know, like you said, you said back in the early '80s, I know you've been in the game for a long time. Now, touring-wise, I mean, I know you, of course, here in the state-wise, but internationally, where's some other places you've toured?
All over Asia, Africa. You know, we get to Africa at least every other year or so. Central America, Latin America, Europe. You know, we've done it all over my 30-year career. So, yeah.
Now, here's the thing: we are coming out of 8 years. 8 years of President Obama. Now, no one can predict the future, but with the new president coming into office, where would you like to see us go or continue to go?
Well, that's a good question. We're going to miss President Obama and the First Lady, but I think, honestly, as Americans, we have an obligation to see what this new president is going to do. I mean, you know, he was elected on some very challenging things, and obviously we know the history of the terrible things he's said. But I'm going to follow President Obama's advice and Hillary Clinton's advice, which is to try to give it a chance, because as Americans, we got to come together. We all share common interest. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with economics and commerce. And I think that we'll see how it goes. We have to say he was elected. He's our president. So with that being said, and respecting the office, no matter who's in it, and then we got to remind ourselves as African American people, what it felt like for them when they finally, our president or president, it meant something to us. They lived through 8 years of seeing a president that wasn't of them, for the first time. It was a real paradigm shift, I believe. And so now, in a sense, being America, being the great country it is, the democratic process, hopefully that is working. We have to give that same opportunity now.
Speaking of opportunities, I would be remorse if I didn't ask you. There are many musicians, artists, upcoming. They're coming different jazz school, contemporary schools. What type of advice or what kind of guidance would you want to echo to them?
Well, I think honestly the most important thing is to find something that hasn't been done. The world has heard Train, they've heard Bird, they've heard me, they've heard others. I think the thing that will grab the attention of people is something that they just haven't heard, or a different approach. I was fortunate, without knowing that's what was happening in my first album, I tapped into a market that really hadn't been tapped into in a major way, and they had tremendous success as a result of that. So I always encourage young musicians. It's good to study all that stuff, but try to find your own voice. Try to reach for something that people just haven't heard.
And of course, you're here tonight in San Antonio, here in Alamo City. How's the visit going so far?
Oh, it's going great. This city is close to my heart. A lot of the Texas cities, but when my first album came out, this was one of the first cities that embraced me. And built my career on. So we're talking 30 years ago. But. The beautiful thing is that we can come here and play a beautiful venue like this, and from what I understand, we're almost sold out. So, and to join my good friend Jonathan Butler, who we go back so many years. Our careers started around the same time. We toured together. We have a song together called Sarah, which I'm in the video, the original recording. So tonight we're going to perform that. That's going to be fun. Yeah.
So tonight, you two, y'all going to do Sarah?
Yeah, we're going to do Sarah. Yeah.
That's going to be a great show. So now, for more people want more information about you, to track you down, website, Facebook?
Yes, Facebook is Nagi Official. That's both for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Nagi Official. And my website is NagiOfficial.com. Okay. So it's very simple, Nagi Official.
I want to apologize. I disturbed you while you were warming up. So if you want to continue to warm up, if you want to keep tuning up as we go out of it, hey, it's your best friend J. Cole. Once again, the man himself, Najee, is in the building. Stay logged on for more. Let's go. Thanks for logging on to BVN 8. Once again, it's your best friend, J. Cole. And as I told you, we always rocking with the best. Speaking of the best in the building, Mr. Jonathan Butler.
Hey, how's it going? Very good. How are you?
I'm blessed, sir. Yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good.
Now, everyone loves your music, no matter what secular it is, sir. I'm going to genre from the old contemporary to the more recent, the gospel. First, starting off, let's backtrack. And with your career, how was music influenced your life?
Well, music was my salvation. It's everything I breathe. It's everything that I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now coming originally out of South America.
South Africa.
South Africa, sorry.
Yeah.
South Africa,
Yeah.
Yes. And so, coming from South Africa, Cape Town.
Yes, from Cape Town originally. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been an incredible journey, and the thing I like to say is that your gift shall make room for you, and God's definitely done that in my case. God has definitely made room for me and my gift to be able to travel the world and spread the good news of the gospel through music.
Okay.
And in various other forms, not just through gospel, but through jazz, through,
Exactly. Now, and I know that there was a point in your career, like you were saying, from the jazz and the contemporary aspect of it. Contemporary music, I guess, what kind of, not necessarily turned you away from it, but what kind of made you want to go more to the gospel Christian rock music?
It's pretty much my journey. It's you know, it's a seamless thing to me. It was something that happened seamlessly because it was something that was definitely, I knew I was called to minister
Okay.
through music, and when I mean through music, also through gospel music.
Okay.
But now I'm able to uniquely do both, and like have a parallel career. Uniquely being able to do both meant that God freed me to be able to do that, because that's not for everybody.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
Exactly.
we both know too many people that grew up in church and that's all they know.
Yeah.
And there's people like myself who didn't grow up in church, who comes from a different spectrum
Okay.
of music. And, you know, most importantly, if you're a disciple, then you know the truth and you exercise your salvation with fear and trembling. So in that way, I'm able, like, I think I represent quite a lot of musicians, like an artist like myself, who are completely, you know, God-fearing people, and but this is their calling in life.
Right.
So this is my calling in life.
Right, and definitely I can see that in your walk, in your talk, and in your music, because like at so many awards show, you see the musician go up and, well, first of all, I want to thank God, but then what was their album about? Everything their album they talked about, but then they want to thank God first, but their album was something totally different from what they're saying.
Well, you know, I think that you know, God always is gracious to receive our gratitude when we achieve something, and we know that because of our journeys and how long it took us and how much hard work it took us, we always give credit to God. But that doesn't, you know, mean that doesn't mean there are two things here. One is, if you know you are, you know, you're a man of God, a child of God, and your work justifies your calling, then giving glory to God is even more impactful, because your life and your walk, it justifies your calling. Degrading to women and using foul language in your songs, and you receive a Grammy, you say, you know, we want to thank God. You know, we do. God does receive that, and we're not supposed to judge that. But if you are a child of God and you're baptized in the Holy Spirit and you're led by the Spirit of God, then you should know better.
Yes, exactly.
That's bottom line.
Right, and I picked up on, like you said, your journey. You have journey. You've met and toured and been a lot of places. And I can recall a time when you went to sing for Nelson Mandela as well.
Yeah.
And how was that? How was that meeting him and being able to talk with him?
Well, you know, Nelson Mandela is one of the pillars of our nation and one of the fathers of our nation, the grandfather of our nation in South Africa. And I've had many occasions meeting him and doing events and incredible events for his vision for the nation.
Okay.
So it's an amazing thing. And while I'm talking to you, I'm going to go Facebook Live and tell you everything you need to know.
Let's do it.
This is I'm in San Antonio.
Let's turn your screen around.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. I'm going to turn my screen
There you
around.
go. Turn your screen around. And there we go.
I'm in San Antonio right now, and
Yes,
I'm doing an interview with this brother,
J. Cole.
J. Cole.
Yes, sir. J. Cole.
He's J. Cole, and we're in San Antonio. And I haven't been in San Antonio. The last time I was in San Antonio, I came to honor the great Colonel Robertson, who retired his jersey from basketball, and Patrick Ewing was there, Alonzo Bowden was there, and I was there singing the national anthem. So we backstage, and you're interviewing me, but I'm letting my fans know that this is what's happening.
We are live in San Antonio. Jonathan Butler is your best friend, J. Cole. Now,
I'm his best friend. His new best friend.
It's my new best friend. That's me. That's my new best friend.
And Najee's on stage as well tonight.
Najee,
And this is happening tonight.
Now, since you brought it up, Najee told me that y'all gonna sing Sarah.
Well, Najee's the guy who actually made the Sarah famous, because he put this incredible horn melody at the top of it that is so unique. Only Najee could do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
and he's still looking good.
And both of you still looking good. I
Right,
mean,
you
I mean,
know.
I'm not going to date you guys, but like I didn't know that it's been some decades.
Yeah, it's
you
been
guys
like
doing
30
this.
years now. Najee and I have been friends and working together for 30 years. So since the days of Angela Bofield, and,
Right.
gosh, George Howard, the late George Howard, Gerald Albright,
Yes.
Will Downing.
Wow.
The list goes on.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so San Antonio tonight, you're going in for a treat because your best friend. I'm here with Jonathan Butler, and we got some more going on, and we're going to have a great show.
We're gonna have an incredible show, man, and I wish you and your show well too.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you.
And I'm really, really happy to be in San Antonio. I just want to let you know I've loved the city.
Right.
There's a pastor, Rick Godwin. I used to come to his church over here.
Okay.
And I was too late to wake up for church this morning.
Oh wow.
But we'll have church tonight.
But like you said, but God knows your heart.
Yeah.
They always say God knows your heart.
You know, the most important thing is, is being a God-loving man,
A God loving man. Yes.
a God-loving woman.
Yes.
Because everybody talks about, oh, God-fearing man, God. No, love God.
Love. And speaking of love, and I know I don't want to hold you too long. I appreciate you taking time from the sound check. 8 years.
Yes.
So we've done 2 terms.
Yeah.
And you know who I'm going to ask you about.
Yeah.
The man himself, Obama. He's leaving the White House, and he shows so much love for us over these 8 years.
Yeah.
Now that we're going off into a new regime, a new era, we can't predict the future, but what would you like to see happen? I mean, especially you coming out of South Africa, because you know how things can get ugly.
Yeah.
So to avoid from things getting ugly, what would you like to see us as a people? What could we do?
Well, as an optimistic man myself, which I am, I do believe that there are more good in America. There are more good people in America than there are bad people in America.
Definitely.
Same as South Africa. I believe that we must unite as a nation.
Okay.
And remain, remain strong as a nation and support, our governments and support what's going on, because the divisiveness is not healthy for number one. It's not healthy, and watching the news can push people in so many different directions.
Right.
And only God knows what's in a man's heart. And as a man thinketh so easy. So we just have to use our judgments and discernment moving forward.
Yeah.
And we need to, be diligent and discerning about what's happening in our times.
Right.
And President Obama, to me, as a South African, as a black man from South Africa, I just want to tell you, I am the proudest. When Nelson Mandela became president of our country, which was segregated with apartheid, and I know struggled very well, I was very proud. And not only that, Obama is one of the classiest, and his wife, Michelle Obama, one of the classiest, and an amazing, he's he's untainted, and he was strong even through the struggles that he had to face in the 8 years. But he's done so much for the world, not just America, but for the world. So I do have to say I respect and honor him and his wife at the White House for 8 years. And I'm proud to be here. I love America. I mean, I raised my children here, so I love being here, and I support us standing together as a nation. We must, we must try to come together. That's very important.
Okay. So in closing, if people want to find out more about Jonathan Butler, I know your Facebook people, we're here, right? We're live.
On Facebook.
We are live on Facebook right now.
On Twitter and on Instagram.
Okay, and the name would be on?
Jonathan Butler, JonathanKennethButler.com. JonathanButler.com, yeah.
And you the new gospel album, is it out now?
Yeah, I have a new gospel album out, and it was nominated for 3 Stellar Awards.
Wow.
And so I'm very excited, and vote for me, everybody.
Vote.
This is a very incredible moment. I'm so proud being a South African, being nominated in America for 3 Stellar Awards. So I'm very excited.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your best friend J. Cole. Jonathan Butler's in the building. We're going down tonight, Saturday night, Sunday night. Here
we're going to do it tonight. We're going to do it tonight.
Tonight.
And right here, right behind me, as you can see, that's my new keyboard player. That's Pete on the keys. Say, Pete, say what's up.
All right, what's up?
That's Pete. And what else do we have? I still have my best friend right here. He's still standing
of course,
right
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Where's everybody?
Everybody.
Everybody's backstage. Everybody's backstage doing what they do. And this is the theater right behind me, and it's going to be a beautiful night.
Very nice theater.
So, peace out, everybody. Peace.
It's best friend J. Cole. Let's go. Jonathan Butler's in the building. We appreciate Jonathan kicking it with us. We're here in San Antonio. It's your best friend, Jonathan Butler. Thank you so much, sir.
Man, fantastic. See you tonight, dude.
See you tonight, sir. Let's go.